Immigration crackdown reaching far beyond the southern border. This is exclusive new video that shows migrants in Illinois leading police on a dangerous high-speed chase. That is a cornfield.
Illegal immigrants led police on a wild car chase. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is caught in a lie that led him surrendering to the Trump administration, and a major shakeup hits the Pentagon as President Trump fires the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, guys, if you appreciate the daily updates, please take a second and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I totally appreciate you guys. We have a lot to go through today, so let's go ahead and get started with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and his hesitance to work with the current administration. John Bolton recently went on CNN to try and defend Zelensky's actions. Now, at the same time, he suggests that President Trump is making a huge mistake when it comes to Ukraine.
Why do you think Trump is attacking Zelensky like this, and what kind of damage could this be doing?
Well, he's attacking Zelensky because he doesn't like him. And he hasn't liked him since the famous perfect phone conversation in the summer of 2019 about basically threatening to withhold U.S. security assistance to Ukraine unless Zelensky and his government cooperated in the hunt for Hillary Clinton's computer server and all the other things in that big bowl of spaghetti that people like Rudy Giuliani were feeding to Trump. On the other hand, Trump believes he and Vladimir Putin are good friends. After all, just a day or two ago, he said that he felt Putin was sincere about wanting peace. He trusted him, and he thought that if Putin didn't want peace, he would tell him.
Now, it's no secret that Bolton's a war hawk, right? Which means that he's just not going to side with peace anytime soon. But here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio explaining why President Trump said what he said about Zelensky. Watch.
When President Trump posts that President Zelensky is a dictator without elections, what are you thinking?
I think President Trump is very upset at President Zelensky, and in some cases, and rightfully so. Look, number one, Joe Biden had frustrations with Zelensky. People shouldn't forget it. There are newspaper articles out there about how he cursed at him in a phone call because Zelensky, instead of saying thank you for all your help, is immediately out there messaging what we're not doing or what he's not getting. I think the second thing is, frankly, I was personally very upset because we had a conversation with President Zelensky, the vice president and I, three of us. And we discussed this issue about the mineral rights. And we explained to them, look, we want to be in a joint venture with you, not because we're trying to steal from your country, but because we think that's actually a security guarantee. If we're your partner in an important economic endeavor, we get to get paid back some of the money the taxpayers have given, close to $200 billion. And it also, now we have a vested interest in the security of Ukraine. And he said, sure, we want to do this deal. It makes all the sense in the world. The only thing is I need to run it through my legislative process. They have to approve it. I read 2 days later that Zelensky's out there saying, I rejected the deal. I told him, no way, that we're not doing that. Well, that's not what happened in that meeting. So you start to get upset by somebody. We're trying to help these guys.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. I can attest to what Secretary Rubio is saying here because this was reported on Reuters. Now, according to Zelensky, he rejected the demands from the White House. In his words, he said, you can't call this $500 billion and ask us to return $500 billion in minerals or something else. This is not a serious conversation. I defend Ukraine. I can't sell our country. I said, okay, give us some sort of positive. You write some sort of guarantees and we will write a memorandum, some sort of percentages. Now, remember this message from Zelensky, okay? Because it sure looks like he's on board with President Trump's plan now.
President Zelensky is changing his tune, suggesting overnight he's now open to discussing a deal. President Trump is demanding for Ukraine to hand over 50% of its mineral rights in exchange for continued American support. After meeting with Trump's envoy, retired General Keith Kellogg, President Zelensky gave his nightly address, saying economy and security must always go hand in hand, and the details of the agreements matter. Zelenskyy also laid out what he expects in return, calling for a reliable and clear system of security guarantees that ensure long-term protection from Russia.
President Trump on his end believed that a deal was going to be accepted, even though Zelenskyy put up a tough front. Here's the president talking about the deal and why it's important for both leaders to talk. Watch.
I think that President Putin and President Zelenskyy are going to have to get together because you know what? We want to stop killing millions of people. You have young soldiers being killed. If you saw the pictures that I saw of the battlefield from satellite, you've never seen any pictures like that. Soldiers are being killed by the thousands a week, thousands of soldiers a week. As we speak, they're being killed. That's why I want to see a ceasefire and I want to get the deal done. I think we have a chance to get the deal done. I had to make sure that Russia wanted to do it. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president, but it did happen. So I got stuck with it, and I want to stop people from being killed. You know, it doesn't affect the United States very much. It's on the other side of the ocean. It does affect Europe, and we've put in 3 times more money. We're in for $300 billion. They're in for $100 billion. And, you know, Europe is also doing it in the form of a loan. Biden just gave them money. There was no loan. There was no security. There was no anything. So we're going to either sign a deal or there's going to be a lot of problems with them. So we're going to sign a deal to get security because we have to do that. We're spending our treasure. They're spending their blood. They are. And they're very brave in every way you can imagine. But we are spending our treasure on a country that's very, very far away. And it's okay, but we have to be treated the same as Europe is being treated. Europe gets their money back. Europe is basically giving nothing because they get it back in the form of a loan, and it's a guaranteed loan. We don't get our money back, and we're losing. I mean, we don't want to do that anymore. So we're signing an agreement, hopefully in the next fairly short period of time, that will assure us that we'll get $400 or $500 billion back. We're in there for $300 billion.
Now, moving on, guys, a shakeup has just been felt at the Pentagon as President Trump has just fired the chairman on the Joint Chief of Staff, Air Force General C.Q. Brown Jr.
Fox News alert, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles C.Q. Brown, just got fired. President Trump announcing it on Truth Social, quote, "He is a fine gentleman and an outstanding leader, and I wish a great future for him and his family." And his replacement's already been named. 47 nominating Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Raisin Kane, who Trump says was instrumental in the complete annihilation of the ISIS caliphate.
Guys, listen up and listen up closely, because what I'm about to tell you could be game-changing information that sophisticated investors have been watching very carefully. There's a war that's brewing, and it's in Africa. Yes, Africa. China, the US, and Russia are fighting tooth and nail to secure the continent's vast reserves of critical resources, oil, gas, and minerals that are essential to the global economy. Africa has become a geopolitical battleground, and the stakes have never been higher. Enter the sponsor of today's video, Supernova Metals. They can be found on the CSE exchange under ticker symbol SUPR, on the OTC exchange under ticker symbol ABETF, and on the FSE exchange under ticker symbol AISLF. Now, this company is perfectly positioned to capitalize on the high-stakes battle, especially under a Trump presidency in 2025. Trump's push to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative and Russia's expanding influence in Africa will create unprecedented opportunities for the U.S.-aligned companies like Supernova. So here's why Supernova stands out. It holds an 8.75% stake in Namibia's Orange Basin, home to Total Venus 1X and Shell's Graph 1X discoveries, two of the largest oil finds in decades. With plans to acquire 2D and 3D seismic data in 2025 and secure a major farm-in partner, Supernova is on the brink of unlocking multi-billion barrel potential. As the U.S. ramps up its presence in Africa to secure critical resources, Supernova's Namibian block becomes a strategic asset, attracting massive funding and partnerships. The bottom line, Africa's resources are growing in value and the competition's heating up. For U.S.-backed companies like Supernova, this means explosive growth potential. Don't miss out. Supernova Metals is your chance to potentially profit from the next great resource rush. Check out their website here for more information at supernovametals.com. Now, I want you to watch this next clip and listen very carefully, okay? Because this narrative that President Trump is racist continues to linger. Here's former U.S. Navy Captain Tanya Donnie talking about the latest personnel change at the Pentagon.
Well, my reaction is that the Trump Pentagon does not welcome black people. They're discouraging black people from joining. There's no home for women. We know also the CNO of the Navy, the Chief Naval Operations Officer, who's a woman, was also fired tonight. The commander of the
The Air Force Vice Chief, we actually have the list up there. The Air Force Vice Chief was fired, the Lieutenant General was also fired, and then 3 JAGs were also fired.
Yes, so there was a purge of the lawyers, the senior lawyers, and the message there is that there's no rule of law left. It's a lawless purge.
Now, I'm not really sure what she was getting at because this list included both white men and women. Her going out of her way to suggest that the Trump administration is racist is a little bit of a stretch. This is the trend that they're going to follow for the next 4 years, whenever they have nothing to criticize the president about. Now, I want to talk about some really crazy stuff going on in Illinois. Illegal immigrants there seem emboldened since leadership within the state have said that they would be protected. This is the message that's been sent by Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago. So I guess these wild car chases should now be expected.
2 Hondurans in the U.S. illegally lead police on a high-speed chase through cornfields an hour and a half outside Chicago.
Pit. Subject is on foot, running northbound through the field. On foot, northbound through the field. Get your hands up. Get them up.
18-year-old Royben Barahona, 23-year-old Christian Arazo Velasquez arrested. 7 pounds of fentanyl found in the car. Three bricks. The Illinois Safety Act eliminates cash bond. Barahona was released without bail and quickly fled to California. Velasquez is still held in the Grundy County Jail. The county chairman believes they were in Illinois because it's a sanctuary state.
If we had a less welcoming state for illegal immigration, I don't know if they would have been traveling those roadways.
The irony is it all happened in Grundy County, the first county in Illinois to push back against the Democrat governor and pass a resolution declaring the county does not welcome illegal migrants. As a result, when migrants from Texas were bused to Chicago and surrounding suburbs, Grundy County never received a busload.
And the results speak for themselves, as we haven't had the problems that other counties, municipalities have had by not being non-sanctuary.
So not only were they illegally in the country, but they were also carrying fentanyl of all things, which is what makes this goal of the Trump administration that much more important. Keller was trying to frame the temporary firing of 300 probationary employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration as a mistake, which led to the pushback from Miller. She called it a mistake. Miller explained how it's pretty standard when you're downsizing the government. You make cuts, you assess those cuts, you see who needs to be rehired and, who needs to be kept, who needs to be reevaluated. All of these things are normal. It just shows how even a temporary interruption in federal employment is a great crisis and catastrophe for Keller and for CNN. But more importantly, according to Miller, what the American people see is a government that's finally delivering a promise for accountability under President Trump. In fact, a spokesperson at the Department of Energy, which oversees the employment of these NNSA, fewer than 50 people with administrative or clerical roles had actually been fired. Some staffers who were reportedly laid off were told to come back to their jobs on Friday night. Now, really, it's a non-issue that they're trying to make a big old heap of a deal out of it. A storm in a teacup, as my uncle likes to call it. Now, of course, Keller didn't stop there. She then asked Miller if President Donald Trump's administration understands who they're firing from federal agencies, even accused them of eliminating deployed military members and veterans from the workforce. Miller had to shut her down yet again, saying how he's happy to indulge all of these very historic questions about anyone who may or may not have been fired. He brought up how the U.S. government has $36 trillion in debt and that the interest payments on the debt exceeds the national defense budget. He then told told her point blank that the American people are exhausted and they're tired of watching their tax dollars be corruptly spent, abused, wasted, and every cent robbed and stolen from them. And that this president, for the first time in history, is committed to restoring accountability at every level of the federal government. Bottom line for Miller, as you guys heard in the clip, if you agree there's waste, if you agree that there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? You may not care about this issue. Your colleagues may not care about this issue, but we care about this issue. The American people care about this issue, and the American public overwhelmingly supports what President Trump is doing. Yes, yes, and yes. Amen to that, brother. I mean, just look at the work that they've done in just one single month. DOGE dismantled the USAID on February 3rd after discovering the agency had spent billions of taxpayer dollars on funding sex changes in Guatemala, sent 65.5 million condoms, 9.8 million injectable birth control products, and 334,000 IUDs abroad in fiscal year 2022, and gave out $68 billion in foreign aid in 2023. The administration fired 4 officials with FEMA following the discovery that the agency handed out $59 million to house illegal migrants in luxury hotels in New York City. The Trump administration is also placing several government employees on paid leave as a part of its efforts to reduce the size of the federal agencies. Because at the end of former President Joe Biden's administration, there were roughly 23.5 million local, state, and federal government employees. The federal government employed over 3 million people in November 2024, standing pretty close to its peak of 3.4 million employees back in May 1994. Yeah, I don't think that we need that many people running the federal government, do we? Do you guys feel like our government was running efficiently these past few years? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments, guys. Hit the like button if I'm making sense to you guys. Also, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on updates like this one. So President Trump and Elon Musk, the two are pretty much on a mission to cut government waste, and we love to see it. Just recently, the president signed an executive order to end taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal migrants. Specifically, they want all federal departments and agencies to identify all taxpayer-funded programs that provide benefits to individuals living in the country unlawfully and to take corrective action. More importantly, they want to make sure that funds are not used to encourage illegal immigration, such as ending any funding that was used to support sanctuary policies at the state or local levels. Because apparently there's this law, the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996, which is supposed to bar illegal migrants from obtaining most taxpayer-funded benefits from the government. But according to the Trump White House, over the last 4 years in particular, the prior administration repeatedly undercut the goals of that law, resulting in the improper expenditure of significant taxpayer resources. So now they're getting things back on track. Trump recently shut down programs like the Safe Mobility Initiative, a Biden-era program that used American funds to help migrants across Latin America apply for asylum without needing to show up to a port of entry. But yeah, for real, guys. But President Trump, he says no more. He said his administration will uphold the rule of law. He's going to defend against the waste of hard-earned taxpayer resources and protect benefits for American citizens in need, including individuals with disabilities and veterans. This comes as a whole bunch of studies indicate the sheer extent illegal immigration is costing the American taxpayer, such as Federation for American Immigration Reform, research that found U.S. taxpayers spent at least $182 billion a year covering the cost of 20 million illegal migrants and their children, an estimation by the Congressional Budget Office finding that Medicare-funded emergency services to illegal migrants cost more than $16.2 billion, and a House Homeland Security Committee study finding taxpayers spent as much as $451 billion caring for illegal migrants and gotaways since January 2021. Well, with this executive order, President Trump is ensuring taxpayer resources are used to protect the interests of American citizens, not illegal aliens, says the White House. And it's not just them either, because see, many liberal critics like saying how Trump is supposedly not touching the defense budget. Well, he is actually. In fact, they're reportedly moving to gut billions of dollars from the Pentagon's budget. More specifically, the Department of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wrote to senior Pentagon leadership that he wanted an 8% reduction in the defense budget in each of the next 5 years. In fact, Hegseth directed leaders to deliver a plan for the budget cuts as early as February 24th so that they can address wasteful spending and bureaucracy. Another long overdue cut, especially considering how the defense budget has ballooned to $850 billion. I mean, $6.1 million on lobster tails in September 2024, $16.6 million on ribeye steaks, and $6.4 million on salmon. Another $5.1 million on Apple products, including 130 iPhone 16 Pro Maxes. Now, shifting gears for a moment here, I want to link you to a previous live stream I did. In that video, I covered the lies that mainstream liberal media continues to tell us and how CNN's Jake Tapper got caught in one. Make sure you guys check that one out. As always, appreciate you hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and for sharing this video. We'll see you guys on the next one.